What the hell is this? I shouted, my voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. Rachel, are you serious? In our bed? With him? She started to cry, her hands trembling as she reached for me. Ethan, I can explain, she stammered. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like? I cut her off, my voice rising. I come home early to surprise you and I find you in our bed with your ex. How long has this been going on, Rachel? How long have you been lying to me? I caught my cheating wife when I showed up early from my business trip. My name is Ethan, and I'm 36 years old. I'd been married to my wife, Rachel, for 8 years, and we had a 5-year-old son, Noah, who was the center of our world. Rachel and I had been high school sweethearts, the kind of couple everyone thought would last forever. She was a graphic designer who worked from home, and I was a sales manager, which meant I traveled a lot for work. Despite the distance, I thought our marriage was rock solid, until the night I came home early from a business trip and caught her cheating in the worst way possible. It was a Tuesday in early October, and I'd been in Seattle for a 3-day conference with my sales team. The conference was supposed to run through Wednesday, but the final day got canceled due to a scheduling conflict with the venue. I saw it as a blessing in disguise. I'd been missing Rachel and Noah like crazy, and the thought of surprising them a day early made me grin. I booked an earlier flight, landing in Chicago around 8 p.m., and decided not to tell Rachel. I wanted to see the look on her face when I walked through the door. I even stopped by a bakery near the airport to pick up her favorite lemon raspberry cheesecake, imagining us sharing it after Noah went to bed. As I drove home, I pictured the scene. Noah running to hug me, Rachel's eyes lighting up, maybe a late-night movie on the couch with the cheesecake between us. Our house was in a quiet suburb, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. And as I pulled into the driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked out front, a sleek gray Audi. I frowned, wondering if Rachel had a friend over, but it was late for a visit, especially with Noah's bedtime routine. I brushed it off, grabbed the cheesecake box, and headed inside, my keys jingling as I unlocked the door. The house was quiet, which was odd. Usually, I'd hear Noah's laughter or the TV playing one of his cartoons. The living room was dark, but I noticed Rachel's purse on the couch and 2 wine glasses on the coffee table, one with lipstick marks, the other half full. My stomach twisted. Rachel didn't drink wine with Noah around, and she hadn't mentioned having anyone over. I set the cheesecake on the counter and called out softly, "Rachel? Noah? I'm home early." No answer. Then I heard it, a muffled sound from upstairs like a stifled laugh followed by a man's voice. My heart started pounding. I climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last, my mind racing with possibilities I didn't want to believe. Noah's bedroom door was closed, which meant he was probably asleep, but our bedroom door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the hallway. I pushed the door open and the sight in front of me made my blood run cold. Rachel was on our bed, in a black lace negligee I'd never seen before, straddling a man I recognized immediately, her college ex, Brandon. They were kissing, her hands in his hair, his shirt already off, and they were so caught up in each other that they didn't even notice me at first. The room smelled of wine and perfume, and on the nightstand I saw a bottle of Merlot and 2 glasses, confirming my worst fears. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like an eternity but was probably only a few seconds. Then Rachel looked up, her eyes meeting mine, and her face turned white. "Ethan!" she gasped, scrambling off Brandon and pulling the sheet to cover herself. Brandon sat up, his expression a mix of shock and arrogance, like he wasn't even sorry. "What the hell is this?" I shouted, my voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. "Rachel, are you serious? In our bed? With him?" She started to cry, her hands trembling as she reached for me. "Ethan, I can explain," she stammered. "It's not what it looks like." "Not what it looks like?" I cut her off, my voice rising. "I come home early to surprise you and I find you in our bed with your ex. How long has this been going on, Rachel? How long have you been lying to me?" Brandon stood up, pulling on his shirt, trying to play it cool. "Let's not make this a big deal, man," he said, his tone infuriatingly calm. "It just happened." "Get out!" I growled, stepping toward him, my fists clenched. "Get out of my house before I do something I regret." He didn't argue. He grabbed his shoes and jacket and bolted downstairs, leaving me alone with Rachel. She was sobbing now, sitting on the edge of the bed, her face buried in her hands. "I'm so sorry, Ethan," she cried. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I was lonely and you've been gone so much, and Brandon reached out a few months ago and it just happened." I stared at her. The woman I thought I knew. The woman I'd loved since I was 17. "It just happened?" I repeated, my voice cold. "You don't accidentally cheat on your husband, Rachel. You made a choice. You chose to betray me. to betray Noah. I glanced at the nightstand where a photo of the three of us at the beach last summer sat, mocking me with happier times. Where's Noah? Is he even here? He's at my mom's, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I told her I needed a night to myself. A night to yourself, I echoed, the bitterness in my voice cutting through the air. You mean a night to screw around with Brandon while I'm out of town working my ass off for our family? I couldn't stay there. I grabbed my suitcase, which I hadn't even unpacked, and stormed downstairs. Rachel followed me, still crying, begging me to stay and talk. Please, Ethan, we can work through this, she pleaded. I love you. I don't want to lose you. You already have, I said, my voice breaking as I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. I drove to my best friend Jake's house, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, tears blurring my vision. Jake took one look at me and knew something was wrong. Over a few beers, I told him everything. The business trip, the surprise, the devastating scene I'd walked in on. He listened quietly, then said, You don't deserve this, man. You need to decide what's best for you and Noah. The next few days were a blur. I stayed with Jake, ignoring Rachel's calls and texts. She sent me long messages, apologizing, promising to cut Brandon out of her life, saying she'd do anything to save our marriage. But the image of her with him in our bed was seared into my mind. I couldn't unsee it, couldn't unfeel the betrayal that now defined our relationship. I hired a private investigator to dig deeper, and what he found only made things worse. Rachel and Brandon had been seeing each other for 6 months, meeting up whenever I was out of town. They'd even gone on a weekend getaway together, which Rachel had told me was a girls' trip to the lake. The PI had photos. Rachel and Brandon laughing at a cafe, holding hands at a park, kissing in his car. It was like a knife to the heart, but it also gave me the clarity I needed. I filed for divorce a week later. Rachel begged me to reconsider, saying she'd go to therapy, that she'd made a terrible mistake. But I couldn't trust her anymore. We worked out a custody arrangement for Noah, and I moved into a small apartment downtown. The hardest part was explaining to Noah why Daddy wasn't living at home anymore. I kept it simple, telling him that Mommy and Daddy needed to live apart, but that we both loved him more than anything. He's too young to understand, but I know it'll get harder as he grows up. Rachel and Brandon are still together, from what I've heard through mutual friends. Apparently he's moved in with her, which stings, but I'm trying to focus on myself and Noah. I've started therapy to deal with the betrayal, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I've even gone on a few dates, though I'm taking it slow. Trust doesn't come easy after something like this. Catching Rachel that night, when I showed up early from my business trip, shattered my world. But it also showed me who she really was, and who I deserve to be with. I'm not there yet, but I know I'll find happiness again, for myself and for Noah. Until then, I'm taking it one day at a time.